Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 6 of the PSGL season 28 here on the PS4. We are here at in France at the Circuit de Castellet for what will be hopefully another exciting race. My name is Felix and I am once again joined by Jake. Hello, welcome.
Hello, yeah, great to be here. I feel like I've done this before, but
Bit of a deja vu going on.
Yeah, track divides opinion, of course, but certainly on the game at least, it tends to produce some pretty good racing, and should be in for a good one tonight. We've got a full grid, which we all love to see, and just 13 points separating a top 6 in the championship, so it's probably one of the closest tiers we've got in PSGL at the moment, and we all like it when it's a close championship fight.
Yeah, I mean, us two, we are used to a close championship fight as we had in the last couple of seasons. And yeah, the stream is actually working now, as we had some issues just a couple of seconds ago. But now it's up and running. That's the good thing about it. And yeah, I mean, you already said it. France, a bit of a debatable one. In real life, it's not too exciting, but I feel like on the game, it just divides a lot more excitement than it does in real life. And that's what probably, or hopefully, should help us to give us some pretty decent racing here tonight with a full grid. That's at least something we can look forward to. And yeah, you said it, a very close championship fight, still 6 rounds in now. And yeah, we're getting towards the end of the season.
Yeah, we're into the second half of the season already. It's absolutely flown by. We've only got 4 races to go after this, so if your season's not going according to plan, you're starting to run out of time to turn it around. And it's getting to that point of a season where, as a driver, you sort of look at where you are in the standings and you sort of set yourself goals of where you want to be. And for a few of these drivers out here, they'll still see the goal of being champion as a very real possibility.
Yeah, we've got Menno currently out on a lap. He's going to be the first one to set his lap time. We had a bit of a, let's say, rather exciting beginning of the stream, as I nearly missed tonight's round due to me just being an idiot. But luckily I'm here. I've made it in time. Jake luckily reminded me on Twitter by just
inadvertently.
Posting a tweet. Yeah. I was basically about 15 minutes ago, I was still outside on a parking lot, but now I'm sitting here watching this qualifying session, and I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad I didn't have to leave Jake on my own, as Menno sets the first lap time of the evening.
That's quickly beaten by Cohen by half a second, who coming into this round is the championship leader, but he was beaten last week. Unfortunately, we weren't there to see that, but it was beaten last week by his teammate Luke, who, of course, the one time Luke actually gets on the top step of the podium, and we're not there to witness it. So there you go.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for him. Maybe it was the commentator's curse for him. Maybe he just needed a different commentator to actually win a race, because he never managed to do so when we were there. But now he's done it, and hopefully it just, you know, sets a turning point to his career in terms of race wins, because he didn't have a single one when we were commentating over him.
No, and I don't know, I feel like I sometimes do curse drivers like that. To be honest, there was a driver in F8 yesterday who I've commentated 4 races on, this being Matt's, and in those 4 races he's only got 1 point. In the 2 races I missed, he got 10 points.
Yeah,
so
well, not a good sign. Not a good sign as well for Girassi, as he validates his second lap in a row now after a slight snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 2. It's really easy to invalidate around here, so nothing too special, to be honest. But yeah, sometimes maybe it helps. Maybe it's a mentality thing. Who knows? Maybe it's a proper curse. But at least Luke has won now. But yeah, what do you make of this track? Is it a one you like? I mean, I've heard many drivers say that they like racing on this track, but I also heard many drivers saying they hate this track with an absolute passion.
I probably lean more towards the hate side of it, if I'm honest. It's better on the game, but I really hate it in real life, but on the game. There are some good points to it. It's quite a nice track to drive, but it's never one I've particularly got to grips with or got a rhythm around. And it features my pet hate in terms of racetracks, which is the fact that it has acres and acres of runoff area, which I don't like. You know, there's an easy way to sort out track limit question marks. Just put grass and gravel there, and nobody's going to go there.
Yeah, obviously in real life, it has something to do with safety reasons, as Le Castellet is deemed one of the safest Grade 1 tracks in the entire world. Or was it even graded the safest Grade 1 track? I'm not sure. I think I've heard something like that. But it's definitely deemed one of the safest ones. And I can understand that, because it's really difficult to actually hit the wall with miles of runoff if you go off for once. I remember Lance Stroll, I think it was in 2018, he had a puncture through the fast, flat-out right-hander after the long back straight, and nothing happened. He didn't even hit the wall, which is obviously a good thing for the drivers, for the safety. But yeah, I agree with you. Gotta agree. I really like it when tracks really punish the drivers for their mistakes. And if you tap a wheel off the track, you should not gain an advantage. You should rather, lose some time.
Yeah, and safety is important, of course, but I think as well, in F1 you do have to have that element of risk and danger. Otherwise, I do think you lose something that's crucial to the sport. And as well as that, it's not like we saw at Portimao this weekend. One of the beauties of that track was the undulation. Like, it was so many slopes, both uphill and downhill. This track just is very flat as well. There's really no out there characteristics to it. There's nothing really to set it apart from any other track, and that's for me what makes a good track is you remember things about it. I don't really remember much about this track, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I can't really remember a single corner name around this track either. In comparison to Spa, which we last commentated together, as Andreas goes into P6, good lap time there, where you basically know nearly every single corner of the track by name, as Cazizzo tops the timing sheets for now with a 1:26.9 and goes on to provisional pole with that. But for Le Castellet, like you said, not many elevation changes, not really something special to it. I think it's a track that you've got there in the calendar. It's just there, and you're not really excited to come here. You're not really looking forward to this race, but it's just a part of the calendar, and I think we don't need those kind of tracks. And I mean, Portimao is a good example. Obviously, we had some issues with track limits as well there. With the runoff, especially in turn 1, we saw many invalidations over the whole course of the weekend. But still, it's a very unique track in terms of the track layout and the elevation changes. It's almost like a roller coaster, and you can compensate a lot of runoff with just a good track layout and just something special to the track. But this track, I don't know, it just seems like a testing track to me.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And but I mean, in terms of the game, it does tend to keep things very close in a race. Or yesterday, at least, there was a lot of battling, and surprisingly, because usually when you associate tracks with a lot of runoff, with a lot of corner cutting penalties, but in F8 yesterday, only one person got a corner cutting penalty, which I've got to be honest is the least amount I've seen all season. And it's not a track you'd really expect to see that, especially as we've already seen in qualifying so many invalidations.
Yeah, it's a bit of a special one, but maybe just because the drivers are so aware of the track limits that they know they'll have to watch out for them. And sometimes at tracks where you would rather think it's easier to stay on the track, maybe the drivers are not paying attention to that all too much, and they're using the track width then, and maybe just a bit too much then. Also interesting thing to note around here is the pit lane entry, which has a full white line. It's got like a bit of a transparent white line, which you are allowed to cross, as Cohen sets a new provisional pole time, which you are allowed to cross, but as soon as the line becomes actually prominent and permanent, you are not allowed to cross it, not even with two tires, and that might result in a penalty post race, but we'll have to wait and watch out for that. We saw yesterday in real life Max Verstappen just ploughing into the pits at Portimao, and I think that's something you cannot do all too much around here, because you really need to commit to the pit lane entry if you want to pit.
No, definitely you can't make a last minute decision around here. So if a safety car comes out and you want to dive in, you can't really afford to do that. I've got to say fair play to Cohen though, getting back onto provisional pole position. Only 2 drivers in the 126s at the moment. Pat in 3rd. I watched Gerassi's lap on board a little bit. Didn't look overly comfortable with this track, I've got to admit. Down in 16th at the moment. And of course, coming into this, he's 2nd place in the championship, just 4 points behind Cohen. So yeah, he can ill afford to have a bad race here, and yeah, hopefully. He struck me as watching him driving around that maybe he's not had too much practice, but I suppose qualifying can be used as practice for some of these drivers.
I'm currently trying to find out if anyone's on a lap, but I don't think they are. Many people are just on out laps at the moment. I think Venom is one of them. Yes, he is. Down on the last currently, without a lap time said, and with 5 minutes to go, he needs to get a move on at some point to actually get a proper lap in. And it's, you know, it obviously makes it more difficult when you haven't set a lap time at such a late stage into qualifying, because then the few laps you get to do have to be spot on, and you don't have that much room for error, but you still need to find the balance in between being quick and not invalidating.
Absolutely, and one thing we'll come on to in the race as well, tyre wear is a huge thing around here. Very obviously every driver's going to want to do a one stop if possible, but you have got to manage the tyres to a degree to make that happen. So we're going to see that become a key factor in the race, and strategies as well could play a part. The only thing I'm wondering, because I always think every time that we see every driver out on softs and no one on mediums, it just makes you think, is there some rain forecast?
I actually didn't look at the tyres a single time so far. I actually forgot to put the tyre.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't missed anything. They've literally all been on softs. I haven't seen a single driver even click onto the mediums, let alone go out on them.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of rain would spice things up, maybe. I wouldn't mind some rain, especially around here.
No, I'm guessing like me, you're on board with Venom at the moment. I was looking at Venom's results, surprising actually. Because I've seen some good flashes of pace from him in the races that I've seen him in, but coming into this round, he's got 3 DNFs and 2 did not start. So I've got to be honest, no points as of yet, and that is an interesting line into the pit lane. I think the less we comment on that, probably the better. But yeah, very interesting line. Obviously, he got it all wrong coming through the penultimate corner, and then decided to bail out on the lap, and to save him having to do another full lap, which would have cost him, I think, a chance to go out again and do another run. He almost went back on himself to go back into the pits.
Yeah, good way to save some time, I'd say.
Yeah, Andreas improves up to 8th place, was 10th. Not a bad improvement. Just trying to see if there's anyone else out there who's looking like they're going to improve at the moment. There's a few drivers out on laps, sir.
I'm currently on board with Mano, and it's looking quite overcast. Maybe we might even see some rain towards the end of the session, because it was
sure
very
it was bright.
sunny.
It was bright and sunny a minute ago. Yeah, that's a sudden change.
Oh, and that's an invalidation from Mano. That just shows you how easy it is to actually invalidate around here. Let's see, no, Andres has just set his lap. There goes Lorenzo off the track as
Lorenzo, yeah, invalidates through the first chicane.
That looked nice and tidy. Through the first sector he comes. Onto the long back straight, which is going to be the best overtaking opportunity, obviously, but in real life we saw many times that usually an overtaking opportunity is basically just passing with DRS before the chicane even comes. So before you get into the braking zone, usually the overtake is already done.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of spots that people can brave moves. That is the obvious one through turns 8 and 9. I've seen someone try and go inside of turn 14 yesterday, which was quite brave. You can as well try and set it up for turn 10, but it's such a fast corner. You make the slightest bit of contact, someone's going to go round. So you've got to make sure you give the space to the car alongside you if you do brave it through turn 10. Just seeing here is Daniel going to improve on what is currently 5th place. He doesn't need to find too much time to move up at least one spot. No, it doesn't improve. He lost a bit of time in that final sector. And it's raining, so is that it for qualifying, I wonder?
I reckon it is. They might have about 30 seconds of full grip levels still remaining. But I think for Cornet, for example, I don't think he'll finish the lap with perfect track conditions. And he's currently up by 31 thousandths of a second on his previous best. But I tell you what, I think he's not going to improve on his lap with the amount of rain that is coming down at the minute.
That's incredible. I didn't even consider rain when we saw the skies up ahead about 2 minutes ago. Well, that's such a dramatic change, and that has pretty much wrapped up pole position for Cohen. No one is going to beat that time now. Anyone who was on a lap has pretty much backed out of it. Cornet is going to try and finish his lap. Has he managed to find time? No, just a tenth shy. I mean, that's not a bad effort considering.
Yeah, but he lost about 2/10 in the last sector, and it only just, oh, look at the track. Look, go on board with Daniel. My goodness me. The track is completely wet. It's into conditions now.
Wow, that's a dramatic change there. There is, it amazes me more that Cornet managed to get so close to his time, but yeah, the checker flag is out, and for once in qualifying, we don't really have anyone who's going to improve thanks to the weather, so that is it. Cohen, the championship leader, on pole position, and his nearest rival, Girassi, will only start 16th.
That was an interesting end to quali, I'd say, and it kind of came out of nowhere. But I just realised, like, at some point it just suddenly became overcast, and then the rain immediately started pouring down. And as you can see, the track is fully wet. If we're on board with Kryptonite right now, he's trying to find his way back to the pits at the minute, but the track is so wet that it's really difficult for him to keep it on the track. Even in 7th gear, he's losing the rear end.
Well, they say sometimes that they can, certainly weather in Britain can have 4 seasons in one day. I think we've just had about 4 seasons in 10 minutes around France.
and
Kryptonite's gone round.
Oh, and the McLaren follows him. Oh, that's Daneco. He's new. He's a reserve, I reckon.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Oh, and he's in the wall.
Who's he replacing this evening? Boss is the driver he's replacing tonight. There's a few of us missing. Carter, I know, is not here, and there's a few of us as well. But that's such a weird change of weather, but there you go. That's the grid that it's thrown up in the end.
Yeah, and it's Cohen on pole ahead of Kazizel, who had a very good weekend last time out. And then Pat in 3rd, Magalit in 4th. Then we've got Daniel in 5th, Cornet in 6th. Then we've got Ryan in 7th, Andres in 8th, Lorenzo in 9th, Kryptonite in 10th, championship contender Luke down in 11th. Then we've got Menno in 12th, Slimbo in 13th, Trinity in 14th, Ferreira in 15th, and Girassi, our current 2nd placed man in the championship, only 16th. So it's a long way to go for him in the race, and it's not going to be an easy one for him. But I wonder, it is overcast. It really is overcast.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a bit more rain in the race. It's dry for now, but as we saw in qualifying, it only takes about 2 minutes for it to change. So I certainly expect we could see some rain here, and that will definitely throw some differing strategies into the equation. And it could help for guys like Luke and Girassi who have qualified outside of the top 10, because we know around here DRS trains are inevitably going to form. So something like a bit of rain is maybe something those guys outside the top 10 need to bring them back into the equation. And of course, if there is going to be rain, when is it going to fall? Because nearly everyone outside the top 10 will, I would imagine, not go for the soft tyres because they're not a particularly strong race tyre.
It's definitely going to be an interesting one. I mean, we obviously have no idea what the weather's going to be like, how it's going to change throughout the entirety of the race, which is still a bad thing, I think, for a commentator. I mean, in real life, also the commentators have a bit of information that they kind of know. Oh, they're all on hards. All of those drivers outside the top 10 are on hards. So
that absolutely suggests we're getting late rain, I think.
Yeah. So I reckon we're going to have a dry race, at least in the first half. But, you know, there could be some rain towards the end. Or everyone's just going for the hard medium strategy then.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday in FA, I think only one driver went on the hards at the start. So I've never seen any. I don't think I've ever seen that in all my time commentating. All the top 10 obviously on the softs they qualified on, and then everyone from 11th down to 20th have started on hards. That is utterly bizarre, and it would suggest certainly in the opening stages there might almost be two different races going on, because the hard tyre runners may struggle to keep up in the early stages, particularly if the track temperatures are a bit low, which overcast conditions would suggest they are.
Someone in the chat just said nice tyres, yeah. And what still annoys me is the fact that on the bottom left it still says Cohen fastest lap.
I've got
that has been there since the start of this game, and that
wasn't even his quickest lap in qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. That was still the first time that was said. Well, we'll just have to live with some things Cody's do and never fix.
Well, we've got a front row full of two drivers we commentated on in F4 last season, and Cohen's still a big surprise to me, but right now he's looking good. He's in the lead of the championship on pole position, and doesn't seem at the moment anyway that there's any sort of pressure getting to him at this stage. So, yeah, looking very good at the moment, and he can obviously see his championship rivals quite a bit behind on the grid. So this is maybe an opportunity for him here to pull out a bit of a bigger lead in the championship going to next week when we're at Canada.
I really hope there's rain towards the end, otherwise I'm a bit disappointed by the tyre choices. Otherwise it's just a boring strategy call from everyone. Does it look a bit more sunny than it just did a couple of seconds ago? I'm not quite sure. Might just be me. But the last car on the grid is lining up now, which is Venom, who didn't manage to set his lap time. And the lights are coming on. I don't think those are the real lights. No, they are not. But I hear the engines revving up. And we are off in France. It seems to be a good start from Cohen in first place. Cazillo can't challenge him. He'd rather have to defend from Pat in second place. Pat is already side by side with the Mercedes driver. And into second place he goes. Margaret has had a really good start. Down the inside of Daniel he goes into turn 2. But he's lost out. Ryan now's got a chance of passing him into P5. He might go. No, he doesn't.
Oh.
And it looks like there's been a crash in the background. Or at least it's been pretty close. Ferreira and Menno are going side by side. Ferreira now with the inside line. He pushes the Racing Point out wide and has now got the inside line for the long right-hander here, and then he's got the position back at Menno, and Menno's now in the slipstream of Ferreira, but Luke is pretty close behind them as well. Luke is lining up a move into the chicane. He might try to box the Racing Point in, but he's not able to do so quite that much. And he's on the outside now for the second part of the chicane. They make contact. He has to go off the track to not spin, and he's lost out to the Racing Point.
Dart bolts into the wall, I think, at the back. So, and he looks like he's got damage on his front wing. That's a disaster for him.
Oh, Lucas thinking about it.
Cazillo tried to think about it against Pat and back to try and get second place back, but couldn't quite manage it. And Luke wants to try and get that place back. He's lost 2 positions off the start. He doesn't want to give this one up without a fight.
He's not able to do so quite. And it looks like Ryan. Something's happened to Ryan. Ryan has lost his front wing. Into the pit lane he goes. And that is his front wing gone. Trinity also in the pits. Lorenzo's just gone past Cornet on the main straight. Looked like an easy move duckboard or already retired. Poor man.
Not the start you want at all. Ryan going on to the medium compound tyres and getting his front wing changed. And last season's F4 champion isn't having it all his own way this season, and that's not what he needed, especially when he was starting on the soft tyres.
But I tell you, look at that. Ryan and Trinity both onto the mediums. So, what do you make of it? Do you think it's actually going to rain, or do you think everyone just went for a really boring strategy call?
I think it's going to rain because I honestly think if it wasn't going to rain, I think Ryan would have gone for the hard tyres in that situation. So I think he's going for mediums in the hope that the rain just falls exactly when he wants it to, and obviously a safety car as well potentially would help him out too. But I still think there's some rain around. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess. I'm not hearing anything about it in the chat, which I kind of like in a way. Sometimes the mystery adds to the suspense.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I really don't want to get disappointed thinking it's going to rain at some point and then the rain just never comes. But Kazizel in a bit of a difficult situation now. Didn't have the best start, lost out to Pat. Cohen controlled it right after the lights went out. And now Kazizel is a bit stuck behind Pat. And Cohen is able to form a bit of a gap to P2 at the minute. And that is not what Kazizel wants, because it looks like Kazizel could go a bit quicker than that, what he's doing right now. But Pat currently catching up a little.
And what I predicted would happen in terms of obviously the tyre choices has kind of come true. We're seeing two sort of different trains developing as Ferreira and a leading member of the hard tyre group drops back from Kryptonite in front of him. Gotta say though, good start from Ferreira, up from 15th to 10th. He's had a very good getaway, as indeed has Venom from 20th up to 13th, ahead of his teammate who's battling for the championship, as Luke goes for it on Menno again. These two have really got at it so far, and it looks like Luke, for now at least, may have just got that place.
Yeah, nice move there indeed, round the outside through turn 9, and that is his spot now, P11. Just one position away from the points now. Got a bit wide through turn 11 now. Whoa, that was a bit close with the racing point of Menno. But Menno was not able to fight back, as he now comes under pressure from Venom behind, actually, who's had a great start as well. Who's come up from 20th into 13th now.
Yeah, exactly the start he needed after the...
and Kazizel and Pat.
Yeah, Kazizel going for it for P2, and looks like Kazizel's got that place. I don't think they were that close about 20 seconds ago. I don't know if there was maybe a slight error from Pat, but Kazizel's got P2 back, and exactly what he needed to do, because he lost out off the start, and it was important that he got that position back, particularly as he probably started to notice that Cohen was beginning to stretch out his lead, and he needs to get within that 1 second to be able to activate the DRS.
It's going to be interesting to see now if he is able to close down the gap to the leader. At the minute, it's a bit more than a second just outside the DRS window of the race leader. And
Luke's
Slimbo
about to go down the inside of Ferreira for 10th place, and he does so. Luke's on a charge here, and he's now the leading member of the hard tyre Strat group. So Luke is on the move.
Good stuff there from the Haas driver. Fought his way back after losing a couple of spots from the start. I think he's now... No, he's actually one position further up than where he started because of Ryan, obviously, who had to pit on that one. And Ferreira seemed to be a bit under pressure there from the racing point behind him, but not able to make a move there. Slimbo tries to defend against Girassi, who still seems to be struggling quite a lot. Girassi pushes him out wide now through the last two corners of the track. They're side by side. That's a not spot to be side by side in. And let's see if Slimbo's able to get the switchback done. No, he is not able to. But now in the slipstream, he sits. Both have got the DRS, but is he close enough to actually make a move coming down into turn 1? He doesn't try it, and Kazizel has made an error.
Kazizel! Yeah, Kazizel's made an error somewhere. I don't think he's got any damage, but he's obviously gone off somewhere, and he's dropped from 2nd down to 5th. So, just as I was saying, Gazizel was getting himself back into position. He makes a small error. We've got another yellow flag as well. I think Lakitu's had an error a bit further down. We've also got a double blow for Renault in the fact that Ferreira's just lost a place to Menno, and he might be about to lose another to Venom.
Yeah, there goes Daniel into P2 then, after gaining the spot from Gazizel, after he made his mistake. Now he's went past Pat, and into P2 he goes. Good stuff from Daniel so far. Venom up into P11 now, as he's made the move. Has he got it stick? Yes, he has. And Ferreira tries to come back at the racing point now of Menno around the outside through turn 10. That's a great camera angle. It actually wasn't. It was cool for like a split second. Look at Menno, a late dive then in the second phase of turn 11, but not quite able to make it. It's a lot of swooping and long corners which tend to dive in very, very late throughout the corner at the late apex, but it's obviously very dangerous to do so because sometimes the driver ahead doesn't really expect you to do so and might just turn in without knowing you are there.
No, definitely, and but with those kind of corners you can take multiple different lines, so you almost get tempted into a move and almost what you think is an open door, which then closes on you because of a natural sweep of the corner. But I have to say, all these battles, if it's helped anyone, it's helped the two Haas cars, because Luke's got a bit of a gap at the front of a hard tyre group, and Cohen has stretched out his lead now to over 2 seconds. So Haas already got a comfortable lead in the constructors, and it already seems like things are falling nicely into place for the pair of them. As Cornet goes through with Andreas.
Yeah, that looked like a pretty easy move with the DRS. That's what I meant with the long back straight with the DRS. Usually you've got the overtake done even before the braking zone starts, so that's obviously something. Whoops, what happened there? That's obviously something you really don't want to see all too much as a commentator, because you really like those side-by-side moments through corners.
Andreas ran a bit wide there, it looked like, through turn 11, and that presented the opportunity for Lorenzo, and they're still going side by side up to 14. Who's going to be braver here? The two of them going side by side. Lorenzo right round the outside into... Oh, and there's contact between them! And Lorenzo just about managed to keep it under control. Andreas has got a pit lane speeding penalty, and that all looked a little bit messy, if I'm honest.
Not quite sure what happened there. Don't know if he wanted to pit and didn't slow down enough. I think that is what must have happened. But yeah, those were the first couple of pit stops for the soft runners, which we can expect to pit now more and more within the next couple of laps. Cohen has got a pretty comfortable lead to Daniel in P2, even though he lost a bit of time there.
Yeah, I suppose he doesn't need to push it, and to be fair...
He's losing a lot. He's losing quite a lot. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if he's just trying to nurse his tyres through this next lap to the pit stop, because, I mean, I saw in lap 7 of F8 yesterday, Game Freaker had a puncture, so it's quite easy on the soft tyres to get one. So he's got to be a bit wary of that, and I suppose he's just thinking, you know, I don't need to risk anything like that happening. So maybe that's to do with that. But Daniel got some good pace at the moment now that he's sort of been released from the cars that he was behind, and trying to chase after Cohen and make this race at the front a little bit more uncomfortable for our championship leader.
Yeah, Cohen didn't really have the most exciting race so far, but he's controlled it quite well. Now goes into the pit lane. Daniel follows him, and I reckon that's going to be the same for everyone now. Who is still on the softs? Yes, Lorenzo, the last one to be on the softs, and it's now Luke, our last week's race winner, taking over the lead on the hard compound of tyres. But I'm really not sure if it's actually going to rain. I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's funny. He's got nothing but brighter ever since that whole conversation we had about it. So I really don't know at this point, to be honest. It's I'm waiting to see what happens, I guess. But the crucial blow for Luke and Venom is that they have a penalty already each, which isn't too ideal, I've got to be honest. And for Luke especially, we obviously talking about he was starting to pull away from the rest of the hard time runners. He's starting to come back at him a little bit now. Menno, Ferreira, Aguirre and Danica all getting in that range to attack him. So Luke maybe not quite got as much pace as I thought he might do. This is going to be interesting here, and Venom looks like he's sniffing a chance to get the lead here.
Yeah, Venom has had a great race so far. Obviously, he's moved up 18 positions now because of the pit stops of the top 10 as well. But still, he was P12, or P11 I should rather say, before all the pit stops were made. And it's a good race so far from him, and it's looking not too bad. But look at the gap between Cohen and Pat, as Pat has jumped Daniel, it looks like, with the undercut.
Well,
it's not
I was
too
going to
big.
mention, just about to say, Pat and Kryptonite have both really utilised the undercut. Pat's got ahead of Daniel, and I would say Kryptonite's got ahead of about 2 or 3 drivers there.
I'm not quite sure what's the pit window around here.
I mean, soft sits around lap 6, 7. Obviously, Kryptonite.
No, I mean in terms of time, you lose.
Oh, 22.5 seconds, I believe. So
it's going to be difficult for Luke then, and for the guys who are on hards, because currently that will mean Luke would come out around P16 behind Lorenzo.
Yeah, it's just between Lorenzo and Andreas at the moment. So
what do you think? Do you think they're going to go onto the softs for the last stint, or do you reckon they're going to make an earlier pit stop and go into the mediums?
I sense it could be an earlier stop onto the mediums. The soft tyres around here actually remind me a lot of what they're like around the track like China. They're good for qualifying laps, and they're good for like 1 or 2 really fast laps.
Oh, and that's been a big off for Cornet as he's made contact with Kazizel. I'm not quite sure if Kazizel really was alongside enough, but it seemed like they were side by side, and at least Kazizel had his front tyre next to Cornet's rear tyre while they started braking, so Kazizel didn't really dive in, but it seemed like Cornet just turned in, and that's eventually what spun Cornet round. Kazizel didn't get any damage, I think, but that looked a bit twitchy.
Yeah, shame for Cornet. He's had a pretty solid season so far, but the good thing is he has got no damage, and although he's lost a couple of places, he's still, I would say, in contention for some good points. But yeah, I do think a lot of these hard runners will pit a bit earlier than perhaps scheduled and go for medium tyres, and they will have a decent advantage over those hard tyre runners come the end of the race. I just don't think the soft tyres are particularly good race tyres around here, but I don't know. I think maybe we might see a couple braver soft tyres, but I honestly think the medium tyres around here are the best race tyres, and that might be why these guys are getting the hard tyres out of the way to begin with.
It's difficult to tell what's going to happen. Venom is definitely getting closer and closer to Luke, and not sure if he really wants to pass him. I mean, he's got about 50% of his ERS, more than Luke has got at the minute, and I feel like Venom, he's enjoying his position at the minute. Menno hasn't got much ERS. Ferreira got the same amount as Luke roundabout. Girassi hasn't got much. And
oh, Kryptonite. I think he's going to go for a move on Margalit. Down the inside. This is a tough move around turns 10 and 11. Can he make it stick? Margalit holds the inside line. Kryptonite used a lot of his overtake there to set that move up, but it hasn't worked out for him. It's good defending from Margalit, and keeps the place, but Kryptonite looking quite attacking at this phase of the race. And
speaking about attacking, sorry to interrupt you, but Darnurko just went down the inside of Girassi and went up into P5 with that move, and Girassi didn't really seem to fight that all too much. Around the last 2 corners of the track, they already went side by side.
Andreas has retired in the pits.
Yeah, he's called it a day. Lakito's dropping down. What happened to Lakito?
Lakito, I think he may have recovered from it. I reckon so. Or he's let the guys through. I don't know. Either way, he's really struggling. Lakito spoke a lot about how it's been a difficult adjustment for him to use no racing line. Obviously, last season in F3, you were allowed to use it, and he was the F3 runner-up in season 27. But I think the adjustment to no line is one that's definitely taken its time for Lakito. As Kryptonite does now get the move done on the Williams driver, and to boot for the Williams driver Marguerite, he gets a penalty as well.
Still looking very close at the top though. All the gaps are within the top 7 are under a second, except from Danerko now, but he's just got back into the 1 second window. So it looks like those guys are still pretty equal on pace, and Cohen is catching up more and more, it looks like. And if I now look at the gap to the leader, yeah, now it says the pit window is open for the one-stop strategy for the medium runners, but we haven't got any.
Yeah, thanks game as always.
Brilliant.
I mean, yeah, I reckon if they are going for mediums, I would probably expect to see the hard tyre as runners in maybe around laps 15 to 16 through maybe 17. That's probably where you're looking at if they're going for the mediums. If they're going for the softs, then they're probably going to extend all the way to around lap 20.
It looked a bit twitchy at the rear end there of Menno as he lost the rear end coming out of turn 6 it was, I think. Yeah, it must be turn 6. I was just going through the corners in the first sector, and yeah, I think it was turn 6. But that might have got something to do with the tyre wear now. The hards, they probably won't feel all too great anymore. Obviously, they should last a bit longer than that, but still, I don't think they're on their best anymore. And we're going to get to the point where the fresh hards are definitely a lot quicker than the old ones from those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a real... I think once you get sort of around 12, 13 laps done on the hards, then you really do come under threat from those who are on much fresher hard tyres. So these guys are going to be in a little bit of trouble. Although having said that, I think if I'm right in saying, I want to check this out. Yeah, Luke's just done his personal best lap time, so he's not having too much trouble out there on them.
Oh, not too bad then, not too bad. But obviously it has to be quick now with Venom so close behind him, and Venom only 3/10 behind now, and I think he might try and set up a move now. He's saved enough ERS to do so, and he's activating overtake mode. He's now 5/10 behind, deactivating it though. Is he going for it? I'm not too sure. He's in overtake mode. He's trying to get closer, but he's not getting close enough just yet. Let's stay on board with him for a second and see if he might be able to line up a move at some point later throughout the lap. But it looks like Luke is pretty strong on the exit of turn 6 and 7. Yeah.
There's one driver who looks like they might be losing their tyres. It's Menno. He's had a few moments while I've been on board of him, and he's just starting to slip away from this leading pair. And it's really important when you're in a DRS train not to fall out that 1 second window. And it looks like Menno doesn't really have a response to these guys in front at the moment.
Yeah, it seems like it's becoming more of a tactical game, which has just reached his peak with Luke pitting. I don't know if that's too early.
And so does Girassi and Slimbo, but Girassi's got a pit lane speeding penalty. It's not been a good day for him. That's a very early stop, which would suggest to me that they are thinking of doing a long stint on the mediums.
Yeah, 14 laps on the mediums.
Yeah, they've jumped the gun early there, so yeah, it looks like they did just want to get maybe a hard tie stint out the way first, but I mean, if these guys are going to salvage good points today, they're going to have to do a lot of serious overtaking in the latter stages of this one, because they're going to have a lot of cars in their way.
Luke has just come out right behind Cornet, and I think he's going to be an easy target now. Obviously on the F1 games, it doesn't take too long to warm your tyres up.
Oh, Danica has just moved past Menno. I mentioned Menno might be struggling on his tyres, and that does back that theory up a little bit.
Let's see how far Luke can really go in this race.
Well, he's already passed Cornet.
Yeah, first overtake done. He's going to gain another 4 spots as the top 4 will pit, and that is going to bring him up into the points, but I reckon Luke is aiming for more than just points, and he is on a good way to maybe even get a podium. I mean, he's got the fresher tyres, the better tyres, but they're going to be really dead towards the end, especially if he now has to do a lot of overtaking.
Cohen will retake the race lead because all the top 4 are in a lap later.
I hear the fans applauding. Don't know for what, but fans are applauding.
You've made it into the pits, guys. Congratulations. But that now means, essentially, obviously, it's Cohen, Pat, and Daniel leading the way, and sort of, I've got to admit, got under my radar a little bit. Just look at the gap they managed to create over Kryptonite in 4th.
Oh, yeah. I think he was fighting Margaret quite hard at some point, so that might have lost him a bit of time. But Luke, currently in P9, just said the fastest third sector of the race so far. So I reckon Luke is someone to watch out for towards the end of this race. And it really disappoints me that I can't see a single cloud on the sky anymore.
Yeah, what happened? What happened? Kazizel has made a move past Margalit, so Kazizel back up to 5th, trying to recover after that little bit of contact I think he had earlier on in the race. But yeah, I almost wonder, with that gap between the top 3 and those behind, is 4th around the limit where Luke is probably going to get? Is that gap between Kryptonite and Daniel just going to be too much for those medium tyre runners to bridge?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, Luke obviously has got a 3-second time penalty as well. He's not able to break away from Cornet just yet because Cornet still had the DRS on him. But, you know, it depends on how quickly he'll cut through the other drivers on the hards ahead of him now. He's closing the gap quite well so far. Lakitu's just got a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. Was that his second stop now?
That's his first stop. He hasn't pitted yet.
Oh, I thought we had everyone done who was on the
yeah, I did forget
Venom
about Lakitu.
round the outside through turn 1. Now loses the rear end and spins round.
Oh no, Venom had such a good drive from last place on the grid. Has just overcooked it a bit and has dropped down to 15. That one mistake has cost him around 5-6 places, and all his hard work he'll pretty much think has been undone in that one moment. And that potentially presents an opportunity to Cornet's teammate for this evening, Danica, who is now effectively second in line on those medium tyres. And he's already got past his teammate by the looks of it.
Yeah, it was Venom's own fault, I'm afraid. Just went in a bit too deep into turn 1 and then lost the rear end, which sent him into the McLaren of Cornet and eventually run spinning. So that's very unfortunate for him. And that is his charge through the field basically over before it even started. But we still got one, or let's say 2 very exciting prospects on the mediums, which are Luke and Danerko, and I'm excited to see what they can do now.
Maybe Slimbo as well. He's in 12th at the moment, pretty close to that sort of group ahead, and he, unlike everybody else in front of him on the medium tyres, he has no penalty. Good point,
but he has got the AlphaTauri of Girassi still ahead of him.
Might be worth keeping an eye on Luke here, I think, because he's just catching up to the back of Lorenzo for P7, and there's sort of a 3-car group that's developed behind Kazizel, which he's going to have to try and get through now. This is where I suspect the overtakes might just get a little bit more difficult for Luke, and he might have to be a bit more creative than perhaps the usual spot of turns 8 and 9.
Yeah, that DRS train could really make it difficult for him.
Got to say, huge credit to the 3 guys in front there. They just continue to stretch out their advantage, and I tell you what, Cohen isn't getting away with this just yet. He's got big pressure behind him with Pat and Daniel, and we've seen with both of those 2 drivers, they've got the pace and the consistency to fight for wins in this tier. So this is a really interesting race between the top 3, and there'll be a few guys like Girassi and Luke who may be hoping that Cohen loses this race lead before the end.
Girassi has just worked his way past Cornet. Limbo, the next driver to pass the McLaren. And this could be a really good chance for Luke now on the main straight. He's got overtake mode enabled, but I don't think he's close enough to really make a move into turn 1. Oh, he's not. Needs to do it at an odd spot. He's very close now, and he might be able to get a move done down the inside now into turn 3. He's got the inside line a bit tight on the inside, but he's now got the move around the outside. Pretty nice move there by Luke, and that was very, very well done at a place where you don't see that many overtakes usually.
Luke's 6 seconds worth of penalties could really come back to bite him here, because he's definitely got the pace and the ability to overtake a lot of these guys, but they could easily get him back come the end. So he's going to have to really get a move on a bit here, but he's straight onto the back of Margalit now as well, so he's very much on the move right now, and I can definitely struggle to see anyone really stopping him up to obviously past Kryptonite, who's good before.
Yeah, many drivers behind Luke also, and ahead on a very low amount of ERS. Kazizel actually has got the most, even though he's the leader of that train, and outside of the DRS window of Kryptonite ahead, but he's still got the most amount of ERS left, so good stuff from him so far, good management. And Luke has now got to use his low amount of ERS to its absolute best to actually be able to make a pass. It's smart to not use it here. Margalit is looking for the inside against Kazizel. That was not the smartest thing to do. I just dropped my phone, which is not good, but Luke is right behind Margalit. Margalit shouldn't have gone for the move on Kazizel into turn 1 because it really compromised his run, but he's lucky enough to just stay ahead. And I just hope I didn't break my phone.
That was a really unfortunate time to say not the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, that also wasn't the smartest thing to do, but it's alright. Oh, look at that. Luke's so close to the rear end of Margalit.
Though. Danico's right there as well.
Where did he come from?
So Luke here has kind of got caught up behind Margalit, and it's presented Danico right in there as well now, so Luke's got to be careful. If he can't get the move done, he's very likely he may lose a place to someone who he's effectively very much fighting against. And I also want to mention, we didn't quite catch this, or I didn't, but I believe that Daniel has overtaken Pat for second.
Yeah, that only just happened when I was on board with Luke, who's now got the outside line through here, but not quite able to make the move. And now look at that, Daniel's so close to the rear end. Can he try and dive it down the inside into the penultimate corner? He thought about it, but Luke quickly closed the door. That was a good thing to do. He slightly even taps the rear end of the Haas car head, and it looks like it might be a better chance. Both cars are pulling out.
Ooh, we're super close, and Luke nearly goes into the back of Margalit because he was so compromised out of the first chicane, and it remains as you were, apart from the fact that Danico has picked up another penalty. He's tried all sorts of moves to try and get past Luke, and that nearly went horrifically wrong. Wow, and this is just building such a train behind them. Look at the amount of cars that are now forming behind Kazizel. This is incredible. Margalit's going up for it again. Oh, and there's contact. Margalit's gone round. Oh, and that's really unfortunate for the Williams driver. He's having such a good run of it. He tried a few times to get past Kazizel, and this time it has gone very wrong.
Yeah, and that might provide a chance to Luke now. That makes it a lot easier for him to move up into P5 then. And if he can get past Kazizel, he must hope for Kazizel to then hold up Danico. Or he needs to pass him as quickly as he can before Danico can fight him. But so far, Kazizel has got a lot of EOS though.
We always wonder about, how our teammates working together. I do wonder, partly here, is Kazizel trying to do his teammate Kryptonite a bit of a favour here?
Might do.
Because you can see Kryptonite pulling further ahead, And of course, Kryptonite himself is not out of championship contention by any means, which for me is possibly one of the surprises of this season, because he had a very quiet F4 campaign, I would say, last season, but he's having a very good time of it in F3. I wouldn't say he's one of the quickest in F3, but he seems to be maximising his potential at a lot of races, which is giving him these strong results, and I think he's doing that again today.
Yeah, good stuff from him so far. Let's see if Luke now can get close enough to the rear end of Kazizel, but I don't think so just yet. Obviously, Kazizel hasn't got any slipstream, any DRS, but Luke just hasn't got any ERS left, and that's what Kazizel has, and that's the only thing that Kazizel has to his advantage. But that's just a smart thing to do. If you don't have to use it, don't use it. And look at Darneco, he thought about it maybe to go around the outside through turn 11 here, but didn't quite try it. I think that was the smartest thing to do. And this is a big train now forming behind those guys.
And potentially a big battle about to take place at the front, because Daniel definitely starting to look a bit more threatening behind Cohen, and Daniel himself currently up in 5th place in the championship. And if he can beat Cohen to the win here, that would be huge for his title.
Oh, look at Luke. Luke is trying it round the outside of turn 1. That might be a good chance for him with the better grip, the better tyres. Yes, he's done it, and he's made it stick through turn 2 there. That was a brilliant move from Luke. But
Slim goes into the wall.
It could have maybe been a bit too early, because now obviously Kazizel has got the slipstream, has got the DRS to fight back on the back straight.
Yeah, it's really good move out from Luke Kazizel. There's barely anything between the two cars, and fair play to the pair of them there, giving him just enough space. But it looks like further down the field, Slimbo got it
sorry
wrong.
to interrupt you there again. Side by side into turn 8, turn 9 now. The inside for Kazizel, which turns into the outside on the exit. But Luke has made it to hold the position. That was good. Daneko's now boxed in behind the Haas and the Mercedes. And that is a difficult situation as they're going side by side through there, nearly 3 wide. And it looks like Kazizel has got the spot back. Luke around the outside though through turn 11. What a move by Luke!
Stunning from Luke. Kazizel obviously wanting to keep these guys at bay, and I think a bit of front wing just fell off one of the cars. Might be Danico, I'm not too sure. But yeah, what a move that was from Luke, and great perseverance from Kazizel to try and hold the hat at bay for as long as possible. We've got Venom going down the inside of Menno into the final corner, which is a bit unusual, I have to say. And this train that's just been created is causing absolute chaos.
It is definitely an interesting train, to say the least. That's a bit of an understatement, actually.
Oh, Danico is going to go for it, is he? No, I thought he was, but he backed out, but then the opportunity might be there. Coming up to turn 6. Is he going to be able to make it stick? Yes, he is, because Danico does get up the inside. I don't think he was going to make that stick there, but look, in just such a short space of time, look how much Luke's already pulled away.
Hasn't got the DRS though, and Danico's got to come under pressure from Kazizel again. And Kazizel is just doing really smart work here.
Oh! Lorenzo tried to get involved as well, and he nearly lost his nose going into turn 8. Danico there perhaps didn't time that move particularly well, because he then lost the effect of DRS, and that has meant that Kazizel can stay ahead, but for how much longer? Because Danico's looking seriously threatening behind the Mercedes. Kazizel pretty much has spent the entirety of his stint looking in his mirrors. He's definitely not been looking.
Oh, and Lorenzo's losing positions left, right, and centre now. There goes Venom down the inside as well, off the Red Bull car, and yes, his hard tyres are just not on the same level as those mediums around him. And
Menno!
Oh yeah, Menno down the inside as well for good measure. Yeah, it's not a good time for the Red Bull right now.
No, absolutely not. Danico's going for it again on Kazizel, and this time I think he's made it a lot easier. He'll hope now to pull away in time as Venom gets quite an adventurous move done on Cornet, who is another one of his hard tyre runners who is really starting to lose out as the medium tyres come flooding by. You got to think about this now. These medium tyres are these hard tyres rather, 17 laps old in some cases. They're not going to be feeling great.
No, they're not. And now, with 4 laps to go, we should also consider the penalties now. I mean, Luke has already pulled a bit of a gap to Danerko, but obviously Luke has got 6 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he has got 6 seconds, but everyone around him also has got 6 seconds, apart from Girassi, who has actually got 8.
Yeah, Girassi's going to really rue that pit lane speeding penalty, because without that, he could have easily jumped all these guys. And it could be the penalties that help Kryptonite keep the hold of his 4th place.
Yeah, Kryptonite has done a really, really good job. A very quiet race from him, but a great one as well. I think he's one of the contenders for driver of the day today. I mean, P4 comfortably so far, and even if he gets overtaken, I really doubt that he's going to lose 6 seconds to all of these guys. And I think he's going to come home in 4th place here easily. Also, Daniel, big shout out. He's doing really well as well, and that could become interesting towards the end of this race now, and in between Daniel and Cohen, because obviously Daniel has saved DRS, Cohen has saved DRS, and it could come down to the wire then in the end. Venom is the first one to get 9 seconds of penalties, apart from Lakitu, who's got 70.
The 2 drivers then, I would suggest maybe keep an eye on here then, in this sort of next group of cars, Meno and Ferreira. Well, not Ferreira actually, because he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties. I missed out on that one. But Meno, he's on the medium tyres and he has no penalties. So he could really move up the field come the end, and he's got some good tyres on. He needs to try and get past
Girassi, sorry to interrupt you, around the outside of Kazizel. Brilliant move there.
Lovely move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean
really
around
nice.
the outside. Fair racing from both pods. And Kazizel might come under threat from Venom right now as well. Through turn 10 they fly. And now Venom is a bit too far away. Oh, he tries to dive it actually. Down the inside of turn 11. Late move, late apex. And that was a good dive, but he's got the outside line now against Kazizel, and Kazizel is slightly going to push him out wide, which Venom is not going to be too happy about. Now once again has got the outside line for the last 2 corners. That is an awful camera angle. Kazizel now has lost the spot though, but he might have got the DRS. Yes, he has.
Yeah, Kazizel begins to lose places left, right and centre, but he's done a super job for his teammate, which I think is what was the main intention there, to be honest. As Cornet picks up his first penalty, that's going to be a blow for him. But you can see now Kryptonite has got Luke and Danico right behind him, but I don't think he's going to fight this too much, because the penalty situation means that Kryptonite is quite secure in his effective 4th place.
No reason to fight for him. Girassi, 11 seconds now.
But I do wonder, have we got Daniel potentially with Cornet, I imagine?
Yeah, there goes Luke, by the way. Luke down the inside, and is Danerko gonna slip by as well? Yes, cheeky down the inside, like you've already predicted. Not that big of a fight put up there by Kryptonite. Smart. He's not gonna lose 6 seconds within the lap now.
Oh, Cornet's out. Cornet has crashed out. Where is that? My battery's retired on track. I'm not too sure. I'm trying to.
I think he retired. His dot still moving.
Yeah, so Cornet has called it a day. I think he was a car that ran wide before, but I tell you, Pat made up a bit of time doing the undercut on Daniel earlier on in the race, but I get the feeling that that 1 lap extra on the tyres is affecting him more now, because it is a 2-way fight for this race win, and just as we probably like it, neither of them have got penalties, so if Daniel can maybe make the move on this final lap, this would be for the win.
He's a bit far away
and
right now.
Danico's gone round the outside of Luke into turn 1.
Oh, wow,
and because of their even penalties, that is effectively pole position. So Danico catching Luke off guard there. I've got to say, Danico's another driver who I've been very impressed with today.
Yeah, Daniel's too far away from Kona, it looks like. Yeah. Not close enough, not close enough. Good stuff from Cohen. Managed his ERS very well and had enough to play with on the last lap of this race then. Akitu's just got another penalty. 20 seconds of penalties. Let's see if Luke is able to fight back at some point. No, doesn't look like it. doesn't really look like it.
No, we don't need to worry about who the fastest lap point will go to, because Ryan has put on some new soft tyres and he's taken that well out of anyone else's reach. But I've got to say, fair play to Cohen. He's been under threat for a lot of this race, particularly in his second stint, but he's held Daniel at bay, and this has been a really good drive from him.
Yeah, that's the final time. He's coming out of the final corner, and that's his race win. He extends his championship lead. Daniel comes home in second. Pat with a really, really good third place. Daneko is going to beat Luke to the line due to a pass on the last lap around the outside of turn 1. Kryptonite, though, is going to be the one taking P4 in the end. Menno jumps up to 5th due to penalties. Lorenzo up to 6th as well. In the end, Daneko and Luke drop down to 7th and 8th due to the penalties. Cazizzo down in 9th, even though he did some very good defending throughout most of this race, especially the second stint. And Ferreira is going to be the last driver to take a point in this race.
And wow, with Cohen's closest championship rivals, Luke and Girassi, only 8th and 12th, this is a huge moment for Cohen. A really good win. Daniel as well, getting some good points. I'll see him move up too in second place. Great drive from him. Pat did one extra lap on the tyres, and I think that ultimately meant he just didn't have the pace in the tyres at the end to maybe challenge the top 2, but I think he'll be pretty happy with 3rd. And Kryptonite keeping it clean for 4th, and as I thought he might do, Menno having that big jump at the end, courtesy of keeping it clean with no penalties.
Yeah, that's the second time in a row now for our second place man in the championship, Girassi, that he doesn't score a single point. Not a good row of races now in the Netherlands and France. So Europe hasn't proven that successful to him.
No, definitely not, and that really is a big problem. That's 3 of the 6 races now he's not scored points in, and you just can't afford to do that if you want to win the championship. It's fine having an off race here and there, but it's getting a bit too regular now for his liking, and he'll rue that pit lane speeding penalty, because I think take those 5 seconds away, he's probably finishing about 5th or 6th.
Yeah, in the end we can see the top 6 without a single penalty, and those have kept it clean. And those guys with penalties have dropped down massively. And the second 2 out of 4 races in Europe, have been absolutely horrendous for Girassi. The other 2 were P4 and P3, very solid, but second half of the races here in Europe weren't really that good, and he's going to be glad to leave this continent virtually in the next race when we head to Canada. And after that we have got Japan, Azerbaijan and Brazil. So it's going to be interesting for the last 4 rounds of the season, but for now it's looking really, really good for Luke. Another race win in the bag, or the first race win of the season in the bag actually, but another good result to extend his championship lead. And Luke didn't score that well. Also, Daniel is the closest threat that had a really good finish in P2, but he was 5th coming into this round. So a really successful weekend for Cohen here in France. But speaking about driver of the day, I don't want to be the boring one here. I don't want to go for Cohen, even though he did a great job, and he would surely be a contender for driver of the day. But like I said at the end of the race already, I want to give it to Kryptonite, because he started in last place of the top 10 in P10. He was the last driver out of those who were not able to choose a new set of tires, and in the end he came home in 4th without really that big of a doubt. He controlled it, was very clean. P4 raced smart in the end, just let those 2 guys behind him go through, because he knew he would get them on penalties, and in the end, a very solid and very deserved P4.
Yeah, I can't argue with that choice. I'm going to go with someone different, obviously, A, to keep it interesting, and B, I don't want anyone accusing me of director bias. So, for that reason, I'm actually thinking Daneko is going to be my shout. From 17th to 7th in the race, a couple of penalties cost him maybe finishing up in fourth, but some really good overtaking there. And for a first appearance as a reserve, I don't know, that performance definitely makes me want to see a bit more of him in the coming weeks. So yeah, really impressive drive from him. Lots of good overtaking and some good pace in there as well. So yeah, I'll give it to Danico. You said Kryptonite, and we've both been very unboring with those picks.
Yeah. I mean, it would be boring to just always pick the first place driver, because obviously you could
start at the back next week, Cohen, and we might vote for you. Yeah.
But yeah, that is it. I think we had a pretty interesting race, considering it was France with obviously two completely different strategies, just the exact opposite basically. We had the hard medium runners and the soft hard runners, and in the end they clashed quite a lot, and we had a very close battle at the top with not really that much of overtaking, but still they were very close to each other. And obviously those guys who were on the mediums in their second stint fighting through the field was great to see. And I think in the game France delivers a lot more than in real life. And I think that is it then, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight's round. That was round 6 at Le Castellet here in France. And for the next 2 races, I'm sadly not going to be there for Canada and Japan, but I will be back for Baku and Interlagos. But I hope that Jake is going to be there to entertain you, and I think Jake is as always going to do great. And I hope when I come back that it's still going to be exciting.
I reckon so. Canada and Japan are 2 very unpredictable tracks, so I'm anticipating a few surprises in the next few weeks. And obviously, as a complete impartial neutral in all of this, the main hope, of course, is that we've still got a championship battle when we get to Brazil.
Yeah, with that being said, make sure to tune in next week, Monday 7 p.m. UK time, when it's going to be lights out for F3 once again. Also make sure to check out the F1 stream right now, which is live at the minute. And yeah, hope to see you guys next week. Until then, goodbye and take care.